Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Vintage at the request of myself. I want to practice for NYSE, even though nobody currently has asked me to play this deck. This is Dimir Lurrus. In all the recent hullabaloo about Flow State showing up and in this new Flow State stock up Lurrus revealed blue big card advantage shell, traditional Lurrus control has kind of been pushed out of the limelight, at least for content and looking at exciting list reasons, though it continues to show up and win. This list, playing Flow State itself, went 9-0 in a recent online vintage challenge, and Lurrus Control is always kind of my safe backup if I'm not moved elsewhere. And I just want to make sure that this deck does still feel safe and feel like backup, because I would hate to do a bunch of work on other decks, fall back on my backup, and find out that the deck just isn't as good as I remember it being or not as viable because everyone else is on its corner also playing Flow State at this point. So that's what I'm doing. And this list in particular, these three Flow States, they do two things to the deck. One is they suck up all the flex slots. There is no Seal of Removal or main deck Null Rod or Time Twister or any of the funsies that sometimes appear in these Dimir Lurrus decks. It's all focused on Flow State. And it's playing 2 copies of Thoughtseize. Not a card that always appears in Dimir Lurrus, but it is a card I like. I registered Thoughtseize in my Dimir Lurrus list at Eternal Weekends, Italy, and Japan last year, where I played this deck. It is one of the very few ways to get tempo advantage while going 1-for-1 exchange with a stock up. And while we're doing that, it also now puts a sorcery in the graveyard, early and often. One of the few sorceries, Thoughtseize and Ponder, are kind of the 2 sorceries that just find their way to the graveyard on their own, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. And Ponder, there's no room for Ponder in this deck. It's already too good at drawing cards. There are 2 copies of Lorien revealed. A lot of the Flow State decks are using 4. That's another sorcery that's really good at binning itself, but Thoughtseize fits what this deck's trying to do, and it dovetails into the Flow State in a way that I really like. That's specific to this list. Outside of that, we are a pure grindy control deck. The job of this deck is to stop your opponent from doing what they're doing. 7 forces, a bunch of other counter spells, conditional, smaller counter spells in the list as well. Use Psychic Frog to recoup the cards you use, forcing to survive the early game. And then Ancestral Recall, Treasure Cruise, Lorien Revealed, Lurrus, all these late game card advantage engines that kick in and bury your opponent once you get a little bit ahead. This deck is not very good at vintaging. There's very few starts short of like Black Lotus, Mox Jet, Psychic Frog, Time Walk. That's kind of your nut start. It's very modest as far as vintage decks go, but it's very solid. And if you know what's going on and you're comfortable settling into medium-long games against a variety of opponents, this is a great deck to choose. I am comfortable in that role. This is my default backup for NYSE if I'm not excited elsewhere. Let's take it for a spin, make sure I still like what's going on here. I am on the play in round 1 in a Pokemon battle. Everyone's got a Lurrus. I'm going to keep. My hand is pretty decent in the mirror. Pretty poor into control. But getting to see what's going on and then sticking a turn 1 Psychic Frog both appeal to me a lot. I'll take my peek. No, I won't. All right, fair enough. Sapphire. Borg. Fuck me. All right, I've been trapped. Yep, that was a good Mind Break trap. Or that was a good Gitaxi Probe to counter. Those were 2 1-for-1 exchanges. So we'll see who like has the next good thing to do. I mean, I could just buy Lurrus next turn and get moving. I have Fatal Push if my opponent sticks a Frog or a Lavinia of their own. I don't have a main deck Mind Break trap in this build. All those spots have been dedicated to the Flow States. I've really liked the builds of Dimir in the past that kind of just do a little bit of it all, rather than a lot of one thing. Okay, this opponent is not playing the same deck as me. I don't have a Soul Ring. I could Snap Probe just to get things moving here. I think I want to do that. Snapcaster Mage, I'd like to see what you're up to. This is an extra look at a Thoughtseize or a Spell Pierce. Lorien Revealed stock up. Okay. Unfortunately, this stock up's going to resolve. Okay, cycling the Lorien. I'm glad to see that go. Yuck. Okay. So they floated a flow state on top of their deck with Brainstorm, but stock up would have resolved here. So they're playing around Spell Pierce, which is probably smart to do, but I don't actually have it. Sewer. Brainstorm. I will take a Brainstorm here. And I think I'm going to rip this off immediately. Ooh. I'll put 2 Fatal Pushes on top of my deck. Make my land drop and attack. Yeah, unfortunately, flashing back that Gitaxian Probe actually turned off my flow state. I'm going to hold up Hardcast Force of Negation here. Any chance you have to go 1-for-1 with a stock up, you probably want to try to do. If they force me back, that's fine. Okay, we're Grixis. All right, so this is probably Breach then. Finally, enough information revealed to know what deck I'm actually playing against, which is not a good sign at this point, but at least I know what I'm up against, and digging for my Nile Spellbomb now becomes a priority. Black Lotus, am I dead? They didn't sack it for red. Might just be a Lorien revealed. I guess they could resolve a Gifts here while the getting's good. Lorien revealed it is. 4 cards in their hand. Mox Pearl. Lorien revealed's a lot less scary when you have to use Black Lotus to do it. Alright, Flow State's only going to get me 1 card. Force of Will's a good card, though. I'll take that. And I think I should rip off the second Flow State for 2 cards here, rather than hold Flow State for a blue card. Okay, Frog is a blue card. So is Force of Will. Demonic Tutor can be any card. I think I want Frog and DT here. So if DT gets Nile Spellbomb, that buys me a lot of movement into the later game. And I just have to decide if I want... Okay, what I want to do is take Frog, because if I have to force, then it doesn't matter which of these cards is in my hand, because it's an exile anyway. But if I don't have to force, then casting Psychic Frog, that's one of the better cards I could have in play. Probing me. All right, well, I didn't have the misstep for that one. They have so much mana. Their mana does just cast Lurrus because of the white Mox. Lurrus has been bought. I think I'm going to let Lurrus resolve, because they have combo cards that can just defeat me, and I have this otherwise dead Fatal Push in my hand versus their deck. Okay. So now Fatal Push is on. I'm going to start there. Fetch first. Fatal Push Lurrus. See what happens. Okay, it died is what happens. Demonic Tutor. I could grab something like Ancestral Recall and try to reload, or I could grab this defensive Nile Spellbomb. I think I want the Spellbomb. This does let my opponent operate with perfect info, but if they're sitting on Pyroblast or interaction like that, I can actually just get ahead of that. And this is a great permanent for Lurrus. It gifts in response to Nile Spellbomb. I'm going to let that resolve. If they tutor 4 answers to Spellbomb, then the gifts is kind of poor, and I still have Force in my hand. If this was bait for this Force of Will that they know I have, then I'd prefer the Nile Spellbomb to resolve. Okay, we've got a Demonic Tutor, another Gifts Ungiven, an Underworld Breach, and an Ancestral Recall. I choose the 2 that go to the graveyard. Gotta make sure I click on this right. So they have so much mana that DT for Brainstorm might just win on its own. I think I want to put Gifts and Ancestral in the graveyard. Or are 3 random cards worse for me than 1 card of their choice? Yeah, I think I'm going to put Breach and Ancestral in the graveyard. So they have DT and Gifts in their hand. If all of that was a setup for a deterministic Gifts pile over top of the Nile Spellbomb that they can counter, but they let me make that choice thinking that I would have their graveyard under control, that would be a really smart way to do this. Mindbreak Trap. Well, here's my Force of Will. You know I have it. The second Mindbreak Trap. And they didn't have the Red Blast to get me back. Cool. Nile Spellbomb is on the board. It represents a card I can put in my hand. They could DT for the second Breach. There's usually 2 in lists, and Lurrus is already gone, so they can't come back. And if I Spellbomb them now, even if they do win a fight over other stuff, if I Spellbomb them, their Black Lotus will be in exile, which makes comboing a little harder. They still have a Lotus Petal, and they have a lot of starting mana, which helps. And I could definitely still just get comboed out from this spot, but my opponent has a lot of choices to make, and then I have one choice to make, which is when am I going to blow this bomb? It would be tough if they just have the second breach in hand already, if they don't have to DT for it. Because if they demonic for the breach, then I bomb them. The demonic goes with the bomb. But if the breach is already in their hand, they stick it, then they can demonic. Or they stick it, they immediately put Black Lotus on the stack without passing priority. And then DT for Brain Freeze. I'm kind of out of space to interact with that at that point, because they can Brain Freeze over the top a number of times with the amount of mana they have. I don't know. I'll see what they do, and I'll just respond to it rather than think about all their lines. That's their job. Okay, the demonic has happened first. Okay, there's Breach. If I take their Lotus and their demonic, then they have to Gifts to fill the graveyard. I think this is the time to move. Gifts is very good at filling the graveyard, obviously. Okay, that's done. Please don't have Brain Freeze ready to go. If they make a Gifts pile, that's just like Lotus Petal, 2 other Moxen, and Brain Freeze. That might be good enough. I think that actually is just good enough. But Demonic would have been good enough too. Yeah. Just too much mana here. Like, they have exactly enough mana to play DT for Breach and then still cast Gifts. This Wasteland to turn late, as usual. And this is a tough matchup, and my opponent's hand was much better than mine. It's cool that the game has become this interesting. I'm just happy to be here. All right, there's the Gifts. Or wait, if I put Brain Freeze in the graveyard, then there's only one other card there with it. So they have to, yeah, they can't just rely on Brain Freeze being in their hand for the first send. So there is another hurdle they have to get over. Like, if they make the pile I described of fast mana and Brain Freeze, I just put Brain Freeze, Lotus Petal in the graveyard, and they might not be able to cast either one with Breach. Okay, lots of fast mana. Lands. Have you played a land yet this turn? No. Okay, so they do still have a land drop. Tolarian Academy is worth more mana than Mana Crypt is. So I want to put Lotus Petal, Tolarian Academy into the graveyard. Polluted Delta also puts an extra card in the graveyard. Anything to make it harder. Lotus Petal and Tolarian Academy to the graveyard. You've got Mana Crypt and Polluted Delta in your hand. Fetching Delta lets you cast Lotus Petal once, but then there's no graveyard. Was Brain Freeze in the hand all along? Simply had it. Yep. A few too many things going right for my opponent here. Well, they may have had the second breach and DT'd for the Brain Freeze, but either way, just one too many things went right here. Storm is plenty to kill me, and I don't have any counterplay to that. There's nothing that's gonna save me. I just want to see as much of their deck as I can. Once they target me with a Brain Freeze, I'll concede. All right, I'm being targeted. GG. And getting Mindbreak Trap twice as the Ultra Fair deck was pretty embarrassing. Yeah, ironically, that opening hand would have been better if Cataxi Probe wasn't in it. If I just didn't know that I had access to that and I just cast turn 1 Frog and passed, that would have been way better. Okay, so some Graveyard Hate stuff coming in. I didn't see any Psychic Frogs roll over when they were milling themselves. That's one of the more annoying things that Breach can do, because what I want to do is cut all my removal and focus on stopping their combo. But when they juke and they have Psychic Frogs too, that gets really corny for me. Okay, 5 cards I want to bring in. 3 cards I want to cut so far. I don't need Basic Swamp versus this deck. They're not going to wasteland me. I could shave a Bowmaster. That's a little pressure off, but as we saw that game, a little bit of pressure doesn't really change how this works. All right, I'm with this. Let's do it. Consigned to Memory can counter a Brain Freeze trigger, but if they're breaching, it doesn't matter. So I'm not going to cut the one that's in my main deck, but I'm also not going to add the ones that are in my sideboard. This hand does not cast any spells. I will mulligan. All right, I like this one. Keep and put... How do I want to do this? I can put a Flow State on the bottom and just let this first wave of stuff do its job. Okay, Flow State to the bottom. Psychic Frog, you're my guy. It's a little awkward that what I want to do is lead on Nile Spellbomb, but I also want to follow up with Null Rod, so I'm hoping they counter one of these 2 cards. Didn't counter that one. Emerald, Crypt, Upkeep. Just have Ancestral Recall through my Spell Pierce. Oh yeah, you love to see it. All right, drawing Force of Will. there is a little bit of justice in the world. I will shove this Null Rod into play, and I will force to protect it if I must. Force of Will pitching Flusterstorm. I'll force pitching Spell Pierce. Psychic Frog becomes the game plan after this. I'm not in Mind Break Trap range. Double Force. Okay, force pitching Flow State. Sure. Okay. I got a 4 for 3 out of that situation, and Nile Spellbomb's still online, though now if they start with the stock ups and stuff, I will quickly run out of juice. Dumped Mana Drain. Mox Ruby. Mox Sapphire. Just going to cast Lorien Revealed. Vault Lurrus, sure. Vault Lurrus, who they cannot cast right now, or next turn either. Underworld Breach. Alright, so I don't want you to cast Ancestral Recall right now, and I know your hand is just Lurrus. I will make this game about Lurrus versus Psychic Frog. The Lurrus can cast Underworld Breach in the future, but they need mana to cast Lurrus, and then they need a graveyard to function with Breach through. Frog, let's go. Don't draw Pyroblast. Volcanic Island. Okay, that's great. It doesn't cast Lurrus, it doesn't interact with Frog. Double Spell Pierce into their 85 mana. Frog hits Flow State. That is not online, but I think using it is a better plan than trying to Spell Pierce twice. Raftigger's Cage Strip Mine. Wow, Strip Mine takes them off black entirely. It's miles away from Lurrus. Alright, I'm going Strip Mine here. If I had the mana, I would rather Thoughtseize the Lurrus, but I don't have the mana, so here we are. They keep winning Crypt Flips. I need that help. Time Walk, alright. Desperate Time Walk, that's fine. That does put Time Walk in the graveyard for future Breach consideration. Brainstorm, a lot of new information very quickly. They would need Black Lotus or land plus appropriate colored Mox to play Lurrus here. But they don't need Lurrus. What they need is Pyroblast. If they kill my Frog, I am screwed. Pithing Needle. Alright, that can name Psychic Frog. I'll juice it up once with one of these Spell Pierces. I just don't believe a lot in that card. But I also don't want to go all in if this is bait. They did name Psychic Frog with that. Another one. Frog. Itcha. Brainstorm. I'm going for another Frog here. There's a good chance they're Brainstorm locked right now. Okay, Force of Will. Disappointing, but that means that the Lurrus is kicking around somewhere at the top of their deck that they still can't play. What was the other card in between? And the answer is nothing. Okay, cool. Stressful, but this matchup tends to be. Do I want any respect for the card Lurrus in my deck? And I'm good. The answer is no. But what I meant by respect is the way to remove it, like a push, a feed, or dismember could all do it. But I have 2 cages, 2 spell bombs that can keep the graveyard offline. I have 2 Thoughtseizes that can grab the Lurrus if it's placed in hand, but not deployed immediately. I have Psychic Frog, Bowmaster, and Snapcaster that can trade or straight up eat it in combat. And I have Null Rod, which mitigates some of the stuff that Lurrus could do out of their graveyard. I think I have respected Lurrus, even though I've not specifically respected Lurrus. Let's go. Okay. This hand is extremely defensive, but I'm okay with that, I guess. Gitaxian Probe. I will fire off the misstep on that, hide the goods. My hand is pretty specific in what it does here. And there's not a lot of 1-drops that are important in their deck. There's obviously Ancestral Recall, but their combo is a 2 and a bunch of zeros. I'm just going to Island Pass. Spell Pierce is online right now, and it might not be in the near future. As we saw last game, they quickly outpace 2 mana. Surveil Land, I can waste that, which keeps Spell Pierce online longer. Dumped a Breach, not ready for it. They tapped a blue and then untapped it. Urza's Saga. That's not where I'm going. I'm going to waste one of these lands. If they're not playing out Moxen, let's keep Spell Pierce online. Pithing Needle. Resolves. Naming Blue to Delta would be kind of savage here. Naming Nile Spellbomb, that is a card they care about. Wasteland, okay. I've already used that. Diamond Hands pay off. Black Lotus. That one's pretty good. It is awkward with this double Null Rod in my hand, though. Okay, Urza's Saga. Trigger. Black Lotus. I think I want to play Null Rod. Like, this will make my constructs bigger. There's a chance they have to fight over this. Okay. We didn't have a fight over that. That's fine. Shields are currently down, but my opponent's capabilities are significantly diminished. Demonic Tutor. Do they have one Strip Mine in their deck? If they do, it's not what just happened. Another Spell Pierce. I'm going to fetch now, so my mana is just up. Okay, I suspect they have Ancestral Recall, but if they do it in the end step, they have to discard a card. This also tells a story that I don't have Spell Pierce, even though I do. Okay, now I have one construct. I'm going to pause with that. I'm going to tutor Grafdigger's Cage. Just make it basically impossible for them to go off. Put Lurrus in my hand, attack for 4. Long goodbye. All right, yeah, couldn't interact with that anyway. All yours. Now I just have to find a way to win the game. I think I'm going to play out Nile Spellbomb as well. Just the more problems I could give to them. I understand that some of my problems are stopping some of my other problems right now. But like, if they're going to remove Null Rod, try to combo off, now they need to remove all 3 of these things. I don't think they have Meltdown in their deck. Brainstorm, Cycloborian. That unlocked the red. I'm going to get my Surveil land here. Underground Sea. I don't think I want that. You know, I could play Lurrus with double Spell Pierce up. Is this a fight I want to fight? No. All right. It is not. I have so many good cards in my deck. I can be patient. Upkeep, Ancestral Recall. Spell Pierce. There's the pay. Spell Pierce again. Okay, Force, Pitching Force to resolve your Ancestral. So that was just cycle 3 cards. Flow State. Are we on? No. Still no. But I'll fire it. Psychic Frog, that's what I'm after. Okay, passing the turn. I don't like my position, but I do like that they're definitely not going to combo me out. Like, depending on their build right now, they are in a lot of trouble no matter how many cards they have, or I'm just waiting for death. Stock up. Yeah, seeing that they had the Long Goodbye now makes me wish I'd made a second construct because I'd be beating down. But if they didn't have Long Goodbye and instead they had Dress Down, then it would have been foolish to tap out into that. Force of Negation. I don't think I want another Null Rod in play. I want mana up. And I can't be aggressive with the Frog because Grafdigger's Cage turns off my Lurrus as well, or else I would have just shoved Frog into their interaction and then see what happens. Some things like a Hurkyl's Recall would buy them a whole turn to do whatever they want. Another stock up. I am betting here on most of their cards not being good right now, rather than counter a stock up when they already have 6 cards in their hand and 5 mana. I'll save this for a showdown turn. I discarded Scalding Tarn to hand size. Flow State. This one is online. See if this is worth a Red Blast to you. Probably should be. All right, Red Blast has happened. I'll use this window to put a Psychic Frog in. And this is me again, just betting that my artifacts are good enough. All right, Force Pitching Flow State. They did have to spend 2 cards on that. Shields are down for this turn. Flow State. Saga. That's bad news. A win con has emerged. Strip Mine. All right, Psychic Frog. All right, Psychic Frog, number 2 on the stack. Mana draining that guy. I think this one's about to be over. This Urza Saga flipped the script entirely on what game we were playing. Yeah, if I just made a second construct earlier, but they had just tutored, like, is that even a good bet? I'm not sure. I have no removal in my deck. We're supposed to win before this part of the game, unfortunately. Okay, passing the turn. Orcish Bowmaster can block for a little while. It's not great. I'm kind of losing to my own Grafdigger's Cage at this point. I have this Lurrus. I have a graveyard full of creatures. Looping Bowmaster forever could block these constructs as long as it needs to, but I don't have that ability. All right, 1 to you. Block. Oh, look who showed up. I hate you so much, deck. I hate Magic the Gathering. Strip Mine would have locked this game up for me last turn. I guess I have to put Lurrus out at this point. Not much else in the option department. Treading water until they die to their own mana crypt is kind of my goal here. They're tapping red mana. If they have an Abrade that kills Lurrus, we're just mostly dead. Yeah. I don't have a Time Twister I can draw to stabilize either. Petal. I guess I'll block. Lorien revealed. And dead. All right. Yeah, the full package of Pithing Needle on Wasteland, that happened on like turn 1 or 2. And then on turn 11, they played Urza Saga, that won the game by itself. And Strip Mine showed up after it had already made 2 constructs. GG's. It's a tough matchup, and they just have so many more cards than I do. I'm excited to be a special guest for the Excalibur events Niagara Falls weekend, September 25th through 27th, 2026. This event features the pre-modern scaling 25K with $10,000 guaranteed and $5,000 added to the prize pool at 275, 350, and 450 players for a total of $25,000. Gold Border and Collector's Edition cards are legal in this tournament, and you can use up to 10 playtest cards to fill out your deck. Be sure to check the FAQ on the Excalibur website to follow their playtest card policy. This has a chance of being the biggest pre-modern event ever. Sign up now and use code BOSH for $5 off entry. I hope I'll see you there. On the play for round 2, my opponent does not have a Lurrus. I'm going to keep Force of Will and Fatal Push are good against white initiative kind of stuff. And Orcish Bowmaster and Force of Will are decent against combo kind of stuff. Dredge, I think, is the non-Lurrus deck I'd be worried about right now. Okay, passing the turn. I'm using my fetch land because that can turn on Fatal Push if this is initiative. Grief. Oh good, it's Dredge. I guess I'll cast Orcish Bowmaster and at least be on the board a little bit. Oh, pitching Boggart Trawler. Never mind. This is some kind of Oops All Spells combo something or other. Alright, I am dead to something else because this is going to strip my force and then win the game. Okay, show me the ways in which I am deceased. Swamp. Okay, it's not Oops All Spells either. What's going on here? Some kind of Black Storm deck. Oh, is it just Scam? That's fine. Yeah, the unpowered Scam deck. That's totally reasonable. All right. We can do this. Depends on who has the next good follow-up. I'm gonna buy Lurrus and hope to hell they don't have another Thoughtseize. Disappointed! And Thoughtseize is kind of what their whole deck does. I mean, my other option would have been wait till I have 6 mana, which I don't think is a reasonable thing to do, especially against the Wasteland deck. Yeah, I didn't think they'd want to damage race me. I was not going to block if that Grief attacked. Okay, pass the turn. Another Wasteland, hell yeah. Stick it to me. Oh, playing your own Bowmaster is even worse. Oh, long goodbye. Can't even counter that one. A Psychic Frog completely changes this game for me. Fetch. Undercity Sewer. Thoughtseize. Do I want to reach into your brain? I don't. What I want to do is get cards flowing, like a Flow State, a Psychic Frog, casting this Lorien Revealed. These are the things I'm trying to do this game. Whether they want to Wasteland me is kind of interesting, because I now have all this mana, but they also know I have Lorien Revealed. And if they don't have more mana, they do at some point want to get their Barrogoyfs and stuff online, their Dothy Voidwalkers. And Wasteland doesn't cast that card. All right, I'm going to Spell Pierce this because there's a good chance it's going to cast a creature. Cool. All right, big rips. Fudge. Lorien Revealed. Finding the other Lorien Revealed. This is like the land in my deck I could draw that isn't actually a land. All right, grab another Underground Sea, pass the turn. Now they, air quotes, don't know my hand. And hopefully that disincentivizes them from wastelanding me, because now I don't have the 5-drop that they were worried about, as far as they know. They drew a Swamp. Time Walk. All right. I am gonna rip off this Lorien and hope for the best. I think I can do better with Time Walk. If they have Bowmaster, whatever. Okay. Now I have a really good Time Walk. Psychic Frog, Time Walk, hit with Frog, stick Bowmaster. If I draw another mana, I also get Bowmaster in the mix there. I wish this Force was of Will and not Negation. Okay, I actually do have to lose my Time Walk for this. Is that true? Yeah. That stinks, but beating them in combat is better than taking an extra turn. May Scornful Striker. Okay, my hand is only creatures. Hashtag only creatures. Blue-black, Psychic Frog, and I think Bowmaster is a better tool than the second Frog here. No attacks was their final answer. Probably a good call. I will use my mana and get this Bowmaster down. Bonk your face, your smelly face. That's a lot of frogs. I'm going to jump one of them. The one that's in play, specifically. Let's get some damage in. And more importantly, some material to discard to the frogs that are in my hand. Because a 1-2 frog doesn't actually impact this board on defense. But a 2-3 frog is quite strong. Where's a Saga? Well, there's a Wasteland in play, so I'm not playing that. Frog? Frog. Dump them out. This is what I'm about. There are 10 cards in my graveyard. All 3 frogs could jump next turn. They did nothing with their entire turn cycle. No instants, no creatures. Their own might be causing them a little bit of stress here if they have something like a Thoughtseize, and it's like, do I want to check the hand if it costs me 4 life to do it? Grief is attacking me. That's going to be blocked by the Bowmaster and its spawn. Like, Reanimate here, they just die, so I don't care if Grief is dead. They take 2 for casting Reanimate, 4 for it resolving, and then I attack with 3 flying creatures. If my opponent finds a Bowmaster, I die, because all these frogs are coming in. You can't stop them. I guess I could leave 1 home. That doesn't change the clock and does let me block. All right, yeah, let's go. Ooh, that was stressful for a minute. Fatal Push, Dismember. They got a little bit of graveyard stuff going on. Feed the Swarm. I guess I just put any removal spell in my deck here. Except Snuff Out. That one doesn't kill any other stuff. Force of Negations can go away. That's a pretty clean map. Yeah, this looks fine. Just lots of interaction for the type of things they do. And as long as I'm not dead, my card advantage will kick in eventually, and then their cards aren't as good as mine. I am going to keep this. It's not a sexy vintage hand, but just having 7 cards versus this deck, especially if one of them's Psychic Frog, I'm pretty interested. If this hand gets grief scammed, okay, they spend 3 cards to take 2 of mine, and then I have 7 turns to figure out what to do about grief. That's basically what happened last game. Opponent mulled to 5, that helps. Grief pitching Thoughtseize. They've got 3 cards left. F6. And if they take my frog and reanimate it, that's better than grief scamming me. That I would not be a fan of. They took my Brainstorm. Interesting. And Pithing Needle Polluted Delta, that would be messed up. The Jukabog tapped. Hell yeah. Let me educate you about the card Wasteland, which is a feature of my deck. Okay, 2 cards in their hand. I'm sure they were super bummed to see that Wasteland. I've kept so many cards where there are so many hands where it's like, you Thoughtseize you on turn 1, hope you don't have Wasteland. Dang it. Okay, I have 1 of each basic land in my deck to play around my opponent's Wasteland. Fatal Push and Orcish Bowmaster are the 2 cards they don't know about, which are great cards for them to not know about. I can pick off almost anything their deck's capable of here. And I am not going to just run this Psychic Frog out. That is the best thing to do. Oh, bummer for you. Hype for me. I get my 2 basics. Bowmaster this thing back. Island. Swamp. Bowmastering a Bowmaster. Just one of the meanest play patterns you could imagine. It's like, not only is your great card gone, but I have the same great card. And you don't. Shadowy Backstreet. I don't think they actually have white cards. This is probably a generic Black Surveil land that's part of their mana base. But noted. Dumped Strip Mine. Yeah, they know I still have a 3rd land in my hand. This attack is medium sus. I am not going to block. This attack frequently indicates there's a 2nd Bowmaster. And that's something I can play around if I'm just careful. They attack. Is it frog time? They've got 1 card in their hand. I think it's time to invest. You got me. That was always going to work. It cannot be countered. Dothy Voidwalker. Okay. I don't have to fetch in response. Yeah, I can just Fatal Push this on my turn. That's not a big deal. I don't need Revolt to kill this one. Draw for turn. Fatal Push the Voidwalker. And I think I am going to push the damage here. Because there's a lot of powerful 3-drops in their deck. And if they want to Wasteland me here, that cuts off a bunch of their good draws. While I think it is my job right now to reduce their life total to 0 before they draw a banger. Reanimating Grief. That's pretty good. I can take the Snapcaster, which means Snap Fatal Push isn't online anymore. That is a lot of damage they just took, though. Yeah, ironically, this consigned to memory that maybe shouldn't even be in my deck right now is in my hand, and Grief is the card that it has a little bit of text against, and I was just tapped out when they happened to find it. Oh well. Huh. That's a good one. Demonic Tutor puts a sorcery in my graveyard. I'm just going to take Ancestral Recall, I believe. Oh, hold on. Do I have a kill you with Ancestral Recall line? So you draw 3, you take 4, Grief dies. I am attacking you with an 8/8. This is almost lethal, but they're not tapped out. All right, I'm going to target myself. I see the clever line, but if they draw their own Bowmaster, pick off one of mine, chump block my Orc Army, draw a Barrogoyf, and I lose because I gave them a bunch of cards, I will never recover from that, emotionally or financially. I'll offer this trade. And while this Wasteland does guarantee Revolt for Fatal Push next turn, I think my opponent losing 1/3 of their mana is pretty powerful. Especially if there is a random Swords to Plowshares that they might cast off that white mana, even though I don't think that's what's going on. Getting involved in the damage race. Wasteland. Another Wasteland. Okay. Right, well, this thing's on now. Flow State, Polluted Delta, and Wasteland. Does Spell Pierce matter? I don't think so. Polluted Delta, Wasteland, Delta, attack, and now I can Fatal Push whatever I need to. I'm not actually worried about this Grief. I'm winning the damage race against it. Okay, opponent is suddenly worried about attacking with their Grief. I will pick it off now. When it's attacking and I'm winning the race, I don't care about it, but if it's staying home, keeping them alive, I care about it a little bit. A Bowmaster would be pretty good for them here. All right, they just have nothing. Cool. All right. Yeah, like we have comparable combat objects and comparable removal, but my deck has Ancestral Recall, Time Walk, Flow State in it, where my opponent's deck has Grief Reanimate in it. And on turn 1 and 2, their stuff is scary, but every turn after that, it's just inevitably, I'm going to get there if I'm not under any pressure. On to the next round. The BoshNRoll channel is brought to you by Tales of Adventure. TOAMagic.com has almost 100,000 unique cards in stock. They offer free track shipping on every order, plus next day or 2-day options when you have an event coming up fast. They offer on-site pickup at major Magic events throughout the US, so you're never scrambling before your tournament. Stop by their booth to buy, sell, or trade at upcoming regional championships, Magic Con, Spotlight Series, and more. I love their selection of individually scanned high-end cards that show you exactly what you're buying. And the best part is saving 5% on every order with promo code BOSH. From Ancestral Recall to Zombie Master, get what you need quickly and in one place at TOAMagic.com. Eternal lives here. I'm on the play against a non-Lurrus deck. Really weird hand here. I'm going to keep it. Oh, I'm on the draw. Never mind. I'm still going to keep it. Wasteland go. I'm something of an idiot myself. Vexing Bauble. Well, that card makes the rest of my hand quite a lot worse. I will force him to negate that. Smart. Just sequence bad, so I play wrong. Fucking clever. What the fuck was that? Weird, dude. What even was that? Do they know that they can't cast those Moxen if their Bauble resolves? Strange. All right, I mean, it worked, whatever the hell that was. All right. I'm going to Wasteland you because you could just Wasteland me if you want to. Another Wasteland. Idiot gaming for everyone. Patches of Houlihan resolves. Black Lotus. That card's quite good. How do I want to use it? I think I'm going to Wasteland cast Black Lotus, and then with Black Lotus, I could Ancestral Recall and then pitch a blue card to force. Like, this is an investment turn. And if they choose to waste me, it's the same as if I chose to waste them, except there wouldn't be a Black Lotus in play. Walking Ballista for 1. I'm not forcing that. Okay, some damage coming in. Mental Misstep. That's an easy card to pitch to force. Won't even miss it. I'm just going to pass here. My plan is end step Ancestral myself, and that lets me keep the Lotus. If they put something on the stack that is difficult to defeat, I can still force. All right. Wastelanding me. Ancestral myself. Psychic Frog, hell yeah. Mishra's Workshop. What kind of card is this? Oh god, it's this. I'm actually level 1 Ninja Turtle shit. Enters with 2/+1 counters on it. Whenever it attacks, double the counters on it. And when this creature dies, create a number of 1/1 robots equal to its counters. Well, I can't beat that card. Oh, that sucks so bad. It's a 4/4 on its first attack. Okay. Psychic Frog. We have to do math here, because losing my Black Lotus is actually devastating. If I cast Psychic Frog next turn, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 cards to discard to it. That's a fight I could win. All right. Yeah, this idiot resolves. Drawing a source of mana here would be pretty good. Force of Negation's not a source of mana, not one that helps me. And because I didn't fetch Underground Sea, which I still believe is correct, but because I didn't, I have no counterplay here. Or I have no double play. I guess this card costs 3 anyway, so I couldn't do 2 things. All right, fine. Black, 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 blue. Psychic Frog. And do I want to wasteland them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in my hand. Yeah, I like wastelanding them versus leaving up Force of Will seems like the same play to me. I'm honestly still railing about that turn 1 Vexing Bauble. Like, I either got drunken mastered or they played bad and I bailed them out of it. I don't know, actually. I don't actually know what happened there. If that was on purpose, that was one of the coolest plays I've ever seen. All right, all you can do is push the damage here. All I can do is block the big Mother Mouser. Block. Discard. Force of Negation. Mental Misstep. And one of these flow states. That is a 4/5 in front of your 4/4. Last I checked, that's big enough. And I can discard again if they try to finish this off with Walking Ballista. Oh, wow. Beginning to think I did not get Drunken Mastered. Okay. Walking Ballista's dead for no reason. I'll fucking take it. Dismember, last card in hand? No. We're stable. All right. All right. I'm going to pass the turn. I am bigger than this Patchwork Automaton. All right, so I go to 5. Oh no, not mana. Stop doing stuff! Phyrexian Revoker. Alright, I just don't think I can beat an extra body on this board at all, but I think this 1 damage might actually change the clock. All you can do is attack. Yep, there it comes. Block, I go to 4. Then I block next turn and go to 1. Almost completely out of options here. I can play this Mox Sapphire. Alright, I got a block, go to 1. Yeah, like, if that Force of Will... If I didn't have to Force of Will last turn, if they just didn't have a spell to cast, then Frog could have attacked this turn, and I go to the same 1 damage. Alright, I will attack. Unfortunately, drawing Swamp, I still die. Lord revealed. Alright, GG. Classic, weird, frustrating, exactly dead to their last card aggro shops matchup. Alright, we get some stuff from the sideboard here. Bunch of removal comes in. Nile Spellbomb, I don't like. Thoughtseize, I don't like. Mental Misstep doesn't matter. Gitaxian Probe probably doesn't matter. I could turn Force of Negation into one of these better counter spells. There's still Feed the Swarm over there. Like, do I need literally every removal spell? I play a lot of it. Alright, I'm going to submit this deck. A Lurrus revealed. I'll keep this hand. If that Vexing Bauble just resolves, then they play 0 spells, and they have turn 2 Sphere of Resistance, which then turns off their own Vexing Bauble, and I still have Force of Will in my hand. Wild. Opponent's on 7 cards. I'm on 7 cards. Everyone's gaming. Mishra's Workshop. Mox Jet. Sphere of Resistance. I'm going to Spell Pierce that. And I can't play around Wasteland, so I just won't. A Workshop mana can't pay for things like Spell Pierce. That is part of the range of vintage cards. They did end up getting a Sphere through on me, though. If Wastelands start coming now, I could be in trouble. If I had drawn a land there, I would have been fine, but I didn't. Fuck. Yeah, it'd be like that. Alright, I'm going to float a blue and pretend I have Force of Will in my hand. Scrawly crawly. That guy's bad news. Land. Shit. Alright, I think this game is over. Imagine if your opponent only casts 1 spell on turn 1. What a world it would be. Society if your opponent only casts 1 spell on turn 1. Ancient Tomb. At least it's not Wasteland. It's a stone coil for 5. Oh my god. I guess I gotta do this. Probably actually would have been better to get the Undercity Sewer, because I can't play spells. Or I guess they give me a draw here. It could be Force of Will. Okay, what does stabilizing here look like? The Stonecoil Serpent has trample, so it looks bad, is the answer. Oh my god. All right. All right. I got Ninja Mastered in game 1 by the weirdest sequence I've ever seen in my life, and then just run over by Double Sphere on turn 1. That's vintage, baby. Next round. This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there. I'm on the draw in round number 4 versus a non-Lurrus strategy. I am going to keep my hand. It's not great versus Dredge. It's quite good against other things. Opponent mulled to 6. Mana Crypt? Hell no. Force that. If this is initiative, that's not going to get any better. Hell yeah. All right. Look at that. Look at that. I think I want Psychic Frog online more than I want to resolve Ancestral Recall, at least in this particular turn cycle. This card has a lot of problems for white initiative. Chrome Mox. The Piss version. Pitching Archon of Emeria. I'm going to attack with Psychic Frog first. I get to draw a card. Orcish Brewmasters. I like those. I'm going to Ancestral myself, see what my options are. Yeah, I'll develop Urza's Saga. That cast the only card in my hand I could cast, so I'm in. Right, Ancient Tomb. Seasoned Dungeoneer. We are going to smash this initiative back and forth on each other. End step, a Bowmaster. Bowmaster is primarily in this deck, by the way, to take the initiative. If initiative wasn't in the format, I just wouldn't even play this card. Certainly not as a 4-of. Okay, do I want a Thoughtseize? That does turn on Flow State. All right, I'm going to Thoughtseize. Take one of these Archons. Flow State is going to try to hit a fetch land here. Wasteland does not work. Black Lotus does. Okay. Black Lotus and Wasteland. I'm going to jump Frog and see if they block Bowmaster. Oh, hold on. I could play another Flow State. That leaves a blue floating. If I miss on the fetch land there, that's pretty bad, though. All right. I'm going to leave Flow State in the graveyard because I'm about to cast a different instant. If they're heads up here, they just won't block because this is pretty clearly trying to turn on a Fatal Push. And they did block. Island is in my hand now. Also draw Wasteland. Fatal Push your big dope. Put Black Lotus into play and pass. All right, they've had enough. Cool. White initiative. Here comes a bunch of removal. On the draw. The consigns and sabotages can be too slow. You need Force and Negation for things like the Mana Crypt play there. Thoughtseize looks really slow. Nile Spellbomb not for this matchup. Mental Misstep, they're probably going to board in some Swords to Plowshares, so I do want this card, even though it's not on the surface something I'm excited about. I want all my mana. Feed the Swarm is such a clunker. I don't think I like this card. Just in the list in general. It can destroy Oath of Druids, I suppose. There are reasons you'd want to do that. Still don't think I like it. Consign can counter various initiative triggers throughout the game. Like this does have counterplay after turn 1, which it would have to because I'm on the draw. Is Consign better than Spell Pierce on the draw? That might be true, actually. Cut 2 Spell Pierces, get a extra Feed the Swarm and a Consign in here. Steel Sabotage could bounce something like Void Mirror, but I'm not a deck that's cold to Void Mirror. All right, I'll probably just do this. And then if there's a game 3 or I'm on the play, I'll cut the Force and Negations and bring in all the Consigns, Steel Sabotages, and reconsider the Spell Pierces to attack their mana with when I have a mana. Okay, Psychic Frog and Fatal Push are both cards I like. I'm going to keep Chancellor of the Annex. Void Mirror. Hey, that's that card I said. I will play my Polluted Delta and pass the turn. I should be able to Fatal Push something around the Chancellor bubble next turn. Unless they have Anointed Peacekeeper right now. And this Cavern is on human. Shit. Alright. I guess... Well, I could bet that they need to name Psychic Frog here, but if they strip mine me, they don't have to do that. Alright. I will fetch Undercity Sewer. Time Walk. Although that card is good, I'm not ready for it. And this Peacekeeper's probably going to name Frog. I guess they could just name Fatal Push and make it cost a lot more. I could have also just hucked the Mock Sapphire into the Chancellor bubble. I still can do that. All right. Sure. Okay. Void Mirror and Chancellor both counter Mock Sapphire. Revolt is a permanent leaving the battlefield. And this Wasteland kind of just gives me everything I'd want in life. Take your Ancient Tomb, Fatal Push your Peacekeeper. All right. If they waste me back here, we're both kind of playing Idiot Magic for a while. If they have nothing, they're in some trouble. All right, Psychic Frog, which is fully active at this point again. The Peacekeeper's gone. Uh-oh, looks like they're in some trouble. Snuff Out gives me even more action. Draw Treasure Cruise. I'm going to play a second Frog, and I'll worry about Treasure Cruise next turn. They found an Ancient Tomb, and still don't have a card to play. That's crazy. I am going to continue small chip shots with Psychic Frog for now. I could, like, dump my hand, make this a 2-turn clock, Treasure Cruise, but if I don't have to do that, why would I? Okay, I could Demonic Tutor for Force of Will right now, just sort of pad the resume. Oh wait, nope, there's a Void Mirror in play. I should have not played my land and got Wasteland. That was bad. Okay, I guess I'm taking, what, Consigned to Memory here? That was a huge spew. I'm actually going to take Lorien Revealed. This guarantees my next land drop, which gives me Snap Time Walk, which will win the game. The Void Mirror mattered so little up to that point, I literally forgot it was there. Alright, Cycle Lorien. Lock that 4th mana. And they've already seen the Snapcaster Mage. They don't want to see the Time Walk too. I respect it. On to the next round.
The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables. In this YouTube series, hosts Patrick Sullivan and Patrick Chapin go set by set through Magic's past, leveraging their decades of experience as Pro Tour players and game designers to analyze the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a deep dive into the facts, mechanics, cycles, trivia, decks of the time, and historical context of the set. The hosts dig into notable cards of the era and their lasting impact today. Each set gets an award show where the hosts pick their favorite cards for categories such as Best, Worst, and Weirdest. And finally, give a letter grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/theresleevables.
On the draw against Non-Lurrus with a modest hand of some interaction, I will keep it. Taxian Probe. I'm not forcing that. Tundra. Tundra out of a Non-Lurrus strategy. Alright, alright. I'll force it. Might have been better to pitch the Consign there. Okay, that was countered. And it's possible this is a Wasteland deck, but I do literally have a card I can play for blue, so I will rock it. Alright, I'm gonna counter Chapter 2 of this Urza Saga. Flow State is online. Fucked up, bro. That card is so good. Ooh. Alright. New plan. Strip mine that Urza Saga. And that means I don't have to counter Chapter 2. Or strip mine the Tundra means I don't have to counter Chapter 2 of Saga. Nice. Alright, ran the money on that one. Do I counter this search trigger? I don't think so. This could get a Vexing Bauble or a Black Lotus to either try to shut me down or unlock their own. But if they just have another land, it's just so bad. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is happening. I'm gonna Bowmaster in response. This is probably what I'm doing this turn anyway, and doing it before they have a chance to draw more cards and answer it, or draw something that could draw cards in response to it later. I will say, like, speaking to the exploration process of this deck, does Dimir Lurrus still feel good when other people have access to Flow State and they're kind of on your corner with what their deck's capable of? This game certainly feels bad. I don't know if that's fair to say about all of the games, but this game does not feel good. All right, I don't think that Consigned to Memory is going to save me here. So I will simply just push as much damage as I can and hope that their hand is all draw spells. Tinker, who do we got? Lurrus Citadel. I was right to do as much damage as I can. This is 2 more life that they don't have to work with. Flow State, Mox Jet, Cycling Lorien. That puts a new card on top of the deck. Meticulous Archive, Mystical Tutor. That one's probably good if you could just cast whatever this card is. What is the card, though? Time Walk. I mean, sure. And my bet was that you'd run out of life points anyway, so Time Walk mostly the same as anything else that would happen here. 10 cards in hand. Cycling another Lorien. There's the Archive from hand. Dumped a Ponder. Oh, you didn't want to cast Ponder? Why not? That's weird. Stock up down to 5. Black Lotus, that one's good. Swords to Plowshares. No! My House of Cards is crumbling. No, and another one! Okay, well, they're down to 5 life. They're allowed to draw cards now, unfortunately. Flow State down to 3. There's another Bowmaster in my hand. An opponent does have to win the game somehow, like a Monastery Mentor or a White Plume Adventure or whatever it is you got. This does appear to be the Blue-White Tinker Initiative deck. Ponder from hand. Ponder shuffled. Let's go. Let's go. Brainstorm. Yeah, that's multiple cards in a row now that the double Bowmaster did have locked down. Brainstorm can set up Lurrus Citadel. Like, you could play like Mox Tundra from your hand here and just be through it. There's a Mox. What? Return up to 1 target historic card from your graveyard to your hand, then exile all graveyards. Wowee! Monastery Mentor. Oh no, they said, oh. That was a mistake. I thought they were just goofing for the camera, but they said, oh no, whoops, in the chat. So they stacked the Mentor on top, losing track of their life total. But hey, I probably still lose that game if I didn't play the Bowmaster proactively. We gotta take it. Okay, a Grafdigger's Cage turns off Lurrus Citadel. I don't have a lot for a deck like this. This is Tinker Initiative, Snuff Out and Dismember, I could see arguments for. Nile Spellbomb, I probably don't need here. So this deck is a control deck. Don't be fooled by the card Tinker. This is a control deck. I've played it on the channel if you want to see more of this. Opponent said in chat they thought Mentor was 2 mana. Holy shit, imagine that. It's restricted at 3. Lurrus, my queen. I would have Monastery Mentor in every deck if it was 2 mana. The only reason I don't have it in every deck is because it's incompatible with Lurrus. All right, how do I sideboard? What's going on here? I think these Fatal Pushes are worse, and these 0 and 1 mana counter or removal spells are better. In the Nile Spellbomb I cut, that is a Lurrusable card advantage item, and Flow State is part of their engine. Do I want to be on 0 Fatal Push? Is that a place to be? Consigned to Memory can stop the initiative from being introduced, which is a big part of their game. I'm running out of time to figure this out. This probably is a Wasteland deck. All right, I'm cutting all my Fatal Pushes. I'm just out of time to think about it because I was busy laughing about Lurrus and Mentor working together. All right, this hand's a little crusty on the draw, but I am going to keep it. Spell Pierce is a nice one. And my opponent's deck doesn't usually come out blazing. Turn 1 Lurrus Citadel is a serious game, but I'm going to hope that that's not what they're actually doing. Cycling Lorien. Basic Island. Recovered. Underground Sea, Mox Sapphire. Lorien Revealed gives me sorcery, so Flow State's going to be on as soon as I can Spell Pierce something. Tolarian Academy. A powerful land. They cycle Lorien. I'm just going to grab Underground Sea. Wasteland. Get that Academy out of here. Loading some mana to Fairy's Response. Let's fucking go. I mean, Points for creativity. This is a good spell pierce to have. Flusterstorm. All right, I'm going to spell pierce to Fairy's Response again over top of this. That was almost awesome. Let's go. Yeah, this card, it was printed into Magic the Gathering specifically to address the card Rishadan, and it counters an ability or spell that targets a land, and then you draw 2 cards. It's the biggest middle finger imaginable to the card Rishadan, and it destroys the permanent if the ability came from a permanent. All right, opponent's got Gitaxian Probe into reload. I've also got a reload, and they know it. Oh, look at this. Let's all have the same turn. Probe you. Force of Will. Would you force this flow state? We're about to find out. I certainly can't wait until Flusterstorm's up. Let's make it cost 2 cards at least. Force Pitching Ponder. Yeah, the person with the first flow state having a better time than the person with the second flow state. That tracks with my experience playing Expressive Iteration in formats. That resolves. Still haven't found a land, or at least they're sandbagging a land. Or they have seen this wasteland, right? I think they have. I am going to hold up Force of Negation rather than buy Lurrus, which is a suspicious thing to do, but it is, I believe, correct. Sewer. Spell Pierce, another one. All right, I will take that card. My opponent has very little mana. Oh no, a mana. Monastery Mentor. That's going to resolve. And should I fight over it now? Or I think it's really important for me to win this fight, so I will go to my turn and bank this Spell Pierce in my hand. I wasteland you, dismember, pay the troll toll, so all my mana is still available. Force, pitching Flusterstorm, Spell Pierce your force. A monk does remain, and I still think it's right to hold this force. I just think it would be silly to lose the tenuous stability I've earned thus far by tapping out and letting them rip off an Ancestral. All right, big draw, big draw. Bowmaster, kill the monk. Let's go. Okay. Stability into being ahead, into now being behind again. Urza Saga so good. Okay, I am going all in fighting this. Wasteland, please. Grafdigger's Cage. Well, that is incompatible with the Lurrus that I'm trying to develop, so I won't be playing that card. And if my opponent rips off Tinker right now, they got me. Congrats. Looted Delta, added to the board. Wasteland, we did it. Waste you. Made a construct. I'm going to attack. Good block. Yeah, blocking the other one, Lurrus, just kills your guy. I am going to play out the Lurrus. I know this is low value Lurrus right now, but I want to be on the board. This is really tight. In a flow state, a stock up just sets it off here. The Mentor is answered. Life total's pretty low for the Tinker, and I'm not in good shape versus an initiative creature. But their deck doesn't actually play that many win conditions. All right, I'm going to play this Bowmaster now, because if they counter it, I want to be able to cast it with Lurrus right away. All right, passing. Fetching a tap land, get that selection while you can. Put a card on top. Uh-oh. If Sphinx of the Steelwind is in out of their sideboard, that card might be difficult to beat. All right, plowing Lurrus. Pretty good. Now I can play Grafdigger's Cage. Cage. That turns off Citadel and Tinker for Sphinx if they have a Sphinx. Uh-oh, Flow State breaking it out. My opponent has resolved 3 Flow States this game to my 1 that I've cast that didn't resolve. Oh, here's the shit again. I actually have to read it. Return up to 1 target historic card from your graveyard to your hand, then exile all graveyards. What does that even do? Artifacts, legends, and sagas are historic. I guess you can rebuy your Urza Saga and go again. That's pretty nice. Demonic Tutor? Is this going to get Force of Willed? It did not get Force of Willed. I'm going to take Ancestral Recall, and I'll play this land. And I am going to chill. Ancestral Recall can be a 6-ball upstairs if I need it to be. If I find a way to protect this, I'm pretty interested in that. Stock up. All right, I think I'm going to Ancestral in response to this. They can't currently hardcast a Force. It would cost them 2 cards. I'm around soft permission. I could pay for a Pierce or a Fluster. Cool, my card's resolved. Thoughtseize. First, or no, it's not the first appearance. I think I did draw one a long time ago, but it's a very good time to find a Thoughtseize right now. Blue, blue, blue in the pool. Soul Ring cast. Another stock up. Their stocks are about as far up as they could go. That's 3 Flow States, 2 stock ups in their graveyard that have all resolved. Mox Rubes. Another stock up, hell yeah. This hand's probably going to be really good when I Thoughtseize it next turn. A Tundra. Still don't think you want to damage race me. Seem to agree. I'm going to fetch while there's still fetchables in my deck. Force of Will. Okay, Thoughtseize you. 4 cards over there. How are they? Force of Will, pitching Tinker. What are we protecting? Would I rather force the follow-up play? I think I would. Okay. I got a 2-for-1 off of that. I'll take it. And I'm just going to pass with Bowmaster or Hardcast Force available. The Mentor and the Tinker are both in the graveyard. Those cards are both important to my opponent's ability to win. There's the 4th Flow State. They've all resolved, by the way. I countered 0 of these. We are actually determining if my opponent has a bottleneck of cards that can win, like literal win cons left, because they have access to basically everything they'd ever want. A Wasteland has appeared. You probably want to save that for when my Urza Saga shows up, because we're at the point of the game where we're both thinking about every card in the other player's deck. A 3rd Bowmaster. Okay. Resolved. No arguments. Cruise your daddy. All right, well, I'm firing this card. Leave Flow State and Snapcaster material in the graveyard. Graveyard was robust. All right, I've drawn 3 cards. Flow State among them. I'll fetch while there's still fetchables in my deck. I'm almost out. Flow State. This is still ahead of Flusterstorm, which is the card I'm trying to manage here. They could activate this thing and exile all graveyards in response to my Flow State, and then I only get 1 card. That is kicking around over there. If they want their Urza Saga back and then give me only 1 card. I've used 3 of my 5 Wastelands so far. Okay, alright, Tolarian Academy. Yes, that's also a legal target. So Flow State's only be good for 1. Tolarian Academy is back in your hand. I guess I'll grab this Wasteland. Put Frog, Strip Mine to the bottom, and pass the turn. I wonder what the plan for that Tolarian Academy is. Are we hard casting a force over top of an initiative creature? Is that what's going on? Oh, 4th Aerolingus for a trillion? Is that even an option? Would you play 4th Aerolingus off of a Mox Ruby Splash? Wasting my Underground Sea. I'll float blue, I guess. Platinum Empyrean. Your life total can't change. I have Snuff Out on my deck that could kill this thing. Do I care about this? I mean, it lets them draw a lot of cards. I guess I will fight over it, pitching my Psychic Frog. Forcing back, pitching Flusterstorm, okay. So this does hit for 8, which is a lot. Snuff Out? Thoughtseize. Alright, I guess I will Thoughtseize that last card in your hand, just see what you're working with. I've identified their plan to win. Their Urza Saga is already in exile, so I will waste the Academy. And I am drawing from my Snuff Out before it's too late. I did bring that in, right? I did. The Steel Sabotage is not in. The Snuff Out is. And they can just tee off here. Okay, they're being careful with the Empyrean. If I have another Bowmaster, there'd be 4, 5, 6. It would be exactly enough to kill it if I had a 4th Bowmaster. Mox Jet. I'm not super interested in that. So I'll play this land. There's 1 fetchable left in my deck. I will block with Orc Army here, because I do want to be able to fetch. Taking 5, not a good option. Fetch. Yeah, Snuff Out is there. Bowmaster could chump a little longer. There's not a lot of game left here to play. Can I find one of my cards that digs? Okay, Psychic Frog. That's actually reasonable. So Platinum Empyrean has weird rules attached to it. Although I hit them for 0, I have dealt damage. It doesn't prevent all damage dealt to you. It says your life total can't change, which means Psychic Frog will draw a card if it hits them. If they figure out they can attack with this Empyrean, I'm in trouble. Okay, yeah. They were playing squirrely for a long time there, and now they're no longer playing squirrely. All right, Snuff Out. Are you here? Oh my god! Okay. Opponent has drawn a bunch of cards since I saw their hand. I guess I should take the Psychic Frog Donk first. I draw a card. I'm looking for counter backup or Thoughtseize. Okay, Urza's Saga's here. Let's take a look. I mean, I have no play here, so it doesn't really matter. Force of Will, Force of Will, Force of Will. All their Force of Wills are accounted for. Urza's Saga, get in. They just told me in the chat they drew the Tinker, which is good information to have, because now I know Tinker is one of their cards in hand. Okay, I'm going to hard cast Snuff Out on my opponent's upkeep. All right, here we go. I'm dead to a counterspell or a removal spell, because the construct could still push through here. All right, here we go. Mox Sapphire, not a card I'm worried about. And this is it. Do you have a good card in your hand? Block. Well, I've gotten to the blocking step. And now my Saga versus your Saga. My Frog can actually hurt you now. Snapcaster Mage is a blocker, but doesn't work because of Grafdigger's Cage. But I'll take the blocker. Attack with Frog. 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to discard Moxjet, because my constructs can't get big enough to beat their construct anyway. This is just a damage race. Brainstorm. A powerful card. But my hand is already good, so I am not going to Brainstorm right now. Ancestral Recall. I think I'm going to Brainstorm in response to this. If I can find my last Bowmaster and just cook their shit, that's pretty good. Mental Misstep. Okay. Ancestral Recall resolves. So if they Swords to Plowshares, well, that buys them a turn. I'll make my 4/4 chump, 3/3 chump in response. Block. And I have a lethal attack here, so I'm just going to spam out Snapcaster and go straight to the house. Okay, they're being really honest in chat. I mean, they're like, they said like countering the Brainstorm stopped lethal because that's one less card for Frog, but then I had Snapcaster there, and they're not even bluffing with the 6 cards in hand. Cool. What a game. Cool deck. A positive record posted with Dimir Lurrus, and I will say that the deck still feels good. Flow State feels good in the deck. The opportunity cost of playing Flow State over the Lurrus permanents, like I don't have a Vexing Bauble, I mentioned Seal of Removal, Momentum Breaker, Time Twister, just all these things you could play instead of this. I do wonder if playing your own Flow States puts you in the arena of the Flow State decks. Like those decks are trying to just overwhelm with cards. And while this was the purview of Dimir Lurrus before Flow State was printed, we could just put Flow State in this deck as this build did and lean into the old identity, or we could play those Time Twister style bullets and be the mid-range deck under these new control decks, because playing Flow State against the, like, I have 3 Flow States in my deck. They have 4 Flow States, 4 Stockhouse, 4 Lorien Revealeds. Am I ever going to be better at this game than they are? And should I try to meet them partway on their game, or should I just play a different game, like sculpting a Time Twister turn, or letting Psychic Frog do the talking, and have this toolbox of other useful things? And for that, I don't know. Like that's a cool space to explore. I think this deck is probably worse than it was pre-Flow State, because other people can do what you're doing now while doing other things. But this deck is obviously still quite strong, full of good vintage cards. This is probably not the 75 I would build for NYSE. I would change some cards and some of the flex slots. How I've mentioned it a bunch of times. I'm not going to give away all my secrets. Subscribe to the Patreon if you want my NYSE deck before I post it. I'm also not sure I'm on this deck yet. I still have a week and a half at the time of recording. You're seeing this a couple days before NYSE, but I'm recording it a week before that. I got time to figure it out. Still like the deck. Don't necessarily like this exact 75, but there's good bones here. I'm going to leave this one here. Looking forward to the NYSE Open. If you're coming, come say hi. If you're not coming, sorry you missed it. Everyone, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Patreon. I'll see you next time.